Welcome back to the Very Biased Sports Show, aka the VBSS podcast, VBSS everything. I am your host Specs, and it's Fantasy Friday. We're talking fantasy, but instead of giving you just the normal, like, here's 5 players from 5 starting quarterbacks, 5 starting running backs, the big boys, NFL, CBS, y'all gonna go on there anyways. Why would you listen to me for those? So instead, I'm just gonna give you one for each and a little statistic about why. So we're just gonna give you one from each, some stacks for some DFS, and that's gonna be pretty much it. Nothing too crazy. But without further ado, let's just get into today's episode. Before we get into anything, we got to give a shout out to the Rays for clinching the AL East crown, their first since 2010. They started off 5-7, and then at one point had like 10 pitchers on the injured list, and all prominent pitchers: Charlie Morton, Blake Snell in the beginning of the season, but then with everybody, Ryan Yarbrough went on there. All prominent pitchers. Nick Anderson went down early, and they rallied. At that point, they had the most injuries on the pitchers on the injured list in the league, but still rallied back. Shout out to Kevin Cash and the scouting department for just somehow willing this team into always coming through clutch. And then shout out to the epic dance battle between Brett Phillips and Randy Arozarena. If you haven't seen that, go look that up. The Rays dance battle, that instead of celebrating with champagne and bottles, they had a dance battle. That's my team, all right? So yeah, shout out to the Rays, headed to the postseason. We're probably going to win the World Series, but that's just me. I mean, that's conservative. At minimum, win the World Series. Also, the Tampa Bay Lightning can take a 3-1 lead tonight against the Dallas Stars. They play at 8 o'clock tonight. They won 5-2 last game. Like I said, can go up 3-1. And to me, the Dallas Stars messed up. They won the first game, and Tampa Bay is 5-0 after dropping a game. So they should have just let the Lightning win the first game. Now we're going to win the cup, and that's on them. All right. So shout out to the Lightning. Shout out to Steven Stamkos scoring his first goal in like over 200 days. First shot, first goal, freaking thug. That's our captain. So shout out to the Lightning, shout out to the Rays. But let's get into today's fantasy studs. You know where I'm going with quarterback on this one, or Dak Prescott. Seattle has actually, apart from Jamal Adams, has struggled against the pass and done very well against the run. So you would think that Ezekiel Elliott might get bottled up. It is Zeke, but he might get bottled up. So Dak's gonna have to throw anyways. They gave up almost 30 fantasy points to quarterbacks in the first 2 weeks, about 20 plus to Matt Ryan, and then almost 30 to Cam Newton last week. So their defense against the pass hasn't been as good as people might see, even though that team's doing very well. At the very least, Russ and Dak are gonna have a shootout. So Dak's gonna have to throw all game if they're playing catch up. So I say start Dak. Also, in weather below or at 50 degrees, Dak is 4-1. And that one came against the GOAT, obviously. But guess what the weather is going to be on Sunday? 50 degrees, baby. So if you're, he ain't going to be cold. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to be hot in fucking Seattle, all right? So start Dak, 4-1 in cold weather when it's 50 or below. Seattle's got to lose one of these games. Why not be to the Dallas Cowboys? So start Dak, ride him into your DFS or fantasy playoffs, whatever you want. So I'm going to give you Kenyon Drake. A lot of people drafted Kenyon Drake, and it hasn't been doing well for them, like 10 points and then 13 points. So not the greatest, but the Lions have allowed the third most fantasy points to running backs this season. And I mean, Drake just dropped the mic on Twitter talking about, if you don't like me, then drop me from your fantasy team. So that to me is saying he might have a big game. It might mean nothing at all. He was probably just mad. He was probably upset. But I'm thinking he's dropping 20 this week against the Lions. It's also the Lions. So I think stacking him with Kyler Murray might be a good idea. But I'm giving you Kenyon Drake. So start Kenyon Drake. Get to that fantasy dub with Kenyon Drake. Receiver, I'm going to go, these are obvious, but I'm just going to go just sort of left field. It's Tyler Boyd. They're playing the Eagles, who, if he lines up in the slot, they are horrible in the middle of the field, and Tyler Boyd's going to run all over them. So I go with Tyler Boyd. Tight end, Jonnu Smith. Ryan Tannehill loves to feed him near the goal line. And the Vikings are terrible, but when you got to ride the hot hand, Jonnu Smith, I see a couple TDs in this game. So go with Jonnu Smith. Now my sleeper, I'm going Joey B. Joe Burrow, LSU product, against the Eagles. They haven't had bad games. The team is a little lackluster, but Joey B has thrown 97 pass attempts through 2 games. Carson Wentz is trash. The defense is trash. And I think, like I said, pairing him with Tyler Boyd in the middle of the field, I think it just sets up well. And I think it's one of those weeks where the Eagles like, oh, we're gonna beat the Bengals, but which it's probably not. At the very least, it's gonna be a shootout. Carson Wentz gonna have to come through, or Joe Burrow's gonna have to come through. I think it's gonna be a high-scoring game, to be honest. And I think Joey B puts up 20+ points. So if you're looking for a sleeper on DFS or super low, or probably still on your waiver wire, I pick up Joe Burrow if you don't have if you have Carson Wentz. But yeah, I think Joey B is a very good play here. Just to close out today's Fantasy Friday, like I said, it's nothing big. I would very much you go somewhere else and choose your fantasy advice, or go somewhere else for your fantasy advice. But I'd stack Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, Kyler Murray and Kenyon Drake, Joe Burrow and Tyler Boyd. If you want a more solid one, I go maybe Ryan Tannehill and Corey Davis with AJ Brown, a little bit injured still, or you can compare with AJ Brown if you like. But I really like pairing quarterbacks with running backs, so you can get like the best of both worlds. And especially if it's a running quarterback that throws pass catching running back like Kenyon Drake or Zeke. Those are easy plays, so definitely some great DFS buys there. I say Joe Burrow is going to be super cheap this week. I don't know what he's going on FanDuel right now, but I know he's going to be super, super cheap. But yeah, that's going to be today's episode, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for next week on Tuesday or Wednesday. And yeah, I will see you guys on the next video.